Thanks for joining us here on Fox 9 All Day. I'm Courtney Godfrey. Lots to cover today as we have active wildfires burning in northern Minnesota, as well as an extreme heat warning here in the metro. So let's jump right in. Evacuations are expanding in northeastern Minnesota as firefighters battle fast-growing wildfires near Ely. There's some video there of aerial shots of the fire. Officials have ordered residents along the Fernburg Road corridor to leave immediately, while the entire Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness is now closed to visitors. The U.S. Forest Service said the Camp Fire spread more than 4 miles in a half day amid Monday's extremely hot and dry conditions. And today was expected to be another active fire day with gusty winds and heavy smoke. That prompting those evacuations north of Ely. In just a few minutes here, we are going to talk to the mayor of Babbitt. They are housing evacuees at an emergency shelter there in the city of Babbitt. So we're going to talk to her about what they're doing there. We are also going to be able to interview an evacuee, someone who was evacuated from their campground in the Boundary Waters just yesterday. So she's going to join us at 3 o'clock as we have a full show ahead. Of course, there's other news that we're covering. So authorities have identified the 3 people killed in Saturday night's boat crash on Lake Pepin. They are 37-year-old Ashley Monson, 52-year-old Manuel de Angel Sola, and 46-year-old Nicholas Locklear, all of Wabasha. Officials say the pontoon they were on collided with a commercial barge and then capsized. 3 individuals were able to climb on top of that capsized pontoon and make it to safety. 2 of the 3 that were killed were identified as Wabasha firefighters. The crash remains under investigation. And ICE is temporarily suspending vehicle stops used for immigration enforcement nationwide following 2 fatal officer-involved shootings in about a week, one in Maine, one in Texas. The move comes after months of scrutiny over ICE tactics, including controversial operations here in the Twin Cities earlier this year and the killings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Federal officials say the pause will remain in place while the agency reviews its enforcement procedures. And soccer's biggest stage is set for the World Cup semifinals. France and Spain face off today in Dallas with a trip to Sunday's championship match on the line. France is chasing a 3rd straight World Cup final appearance, while Spain is looking to reach its first final since winning the 2010 final, and then England will play Argentina tomorrow in that 2nd semifinal game. All those games can be watched here on Fox 9. We should talk about the heat as well, because we are in an extreme heat warning. Those remain in effect all through today. The daytime high today is going to be about 95 degrees, and those temperatures continue throughout much of the week before a slight cooling, just slight, into next week. And there's also an air quality alert when we talk about weather that's in effect Tuesday today for parts of Minnesota's Arrowhead because of those wildfires that we've been talking about. Okay, I'm hearing that we do have the mayor of Babbitt on the line, but we need a few more minutes to set her up. So why don't we take a quick break? When we get back, we're going to talk to her about the emergency evacuation shelter that they have set up to house evacuees who are being forced to leave their homes and campsites north of Ely. We're going to have her on in just a few minutes. Stay right there. Thanks for joining us. We are following the active wildfires in northern Minnesota right now, as well as an extreme heat warning. So lots to cover today, lots of interviews with individuals who are up there in northern Minnesota dealing firsthand with the impacts of these wildfires. So first I want to go to the Babbitt mayor, Andrea Zupanczyk. Andrea, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for reaching out.
So your city is hosting the evacuation center for evacuees. How did Babbitt become the city to respond to this?
You know, I think it's a matter of our location and where they needed to be and where there was space available fairly quickly. So fortunately or unfortunately, however you may take it, is that we were able to respond quickly.
So how many evacuees have you taken in so far? How many are you prepared to take in?
Oh, you know, I think they've had very minimal so far. I just stopped over at the shelter and I didn't see anyone there. You know, tonight might be a different story as evening falls. And I think I think we can take about 40 or 50 of them and probably even more. We've never been in this type of situation before where we've been over capacity or at capacity. In the past, which was the Greenwood fire, I believe we just had a handful. Most people stayed with family and friends, but just know that if no one has anyone up here, that we're able to take anyone in. So what's really great is that I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
What's really great is there are people volunteering to grill hot dogs and stuff tomorrow night for anyone that is displaced from the fire. And you've got all sorts of people willing to chip in right now, drop off supplies, drop off beds. It's really fantastic to see the community come together like this for people that they may or may not know.
Yeah, we're always impressed in these situations how people come together. You mentioned that Babbitt has done this before. So you've stepped into this role in the past. You know what you're doing here.
I guess, yes. You're never really fully prepared for something like this. And unfortunately, I do have some experience with it, not to the extent of like the Brimson fire last year or any of the larger ones like that. But, we've had some substantial fires and you just got to rely on your volunteers, our fire department, our chief. They're absolutely wonderful and amazing. All the hot shots that are coming in from all over the area. Everyone is so fantastic to work with, and they just have one thing in mind, and that's to save people and property, and that's amazing.
What kind of support are you receiving from the state or the county as you host this evacuation center?
I don't know if we have anything yet. This all, naturally pops up pretty fast. And so I know Governor Walz has issued a peacetime emergency and is issuing the National Guard up here. And it really just all depends on if the wind moves, if it shifts, it's going to be a whole different scenario. It's going one way right now. And I just remember from some of the past fires when the fire starts creating its own weather, which is scary. I mean, that's tornadoes and it's a false weather. So we really don't want to get to that point.
What is the need for supplies? And is there any way that the public can help? And if they want to, how can they do that?
Yeah, there's definitely a need for water, Powerade, Gatorade, those kinds of things. They can drop them off at the municipal center in Babbitt. We can get it to our fire department. They can bring them out. I know Ely probably has a drop-off site. Also, I believe some of the firemen are staying at Bets on the Lake. So I'm sure that's going to be a drop-off point as well. So mainly right now it's the water, Gatorade, Powerade type of products.
So how is your community able to balance taking care of these first responders and also housing evacuees? Where do you find that balance?
Well, you never really find that balance until you absolutely need it. And it's the willingness of everyone wanting to chip in, not thinking about anything other than helping people. There are animals that need shelter, large animals. So you see Contented Critters, for example, offering to help, bring those people with larger animals like horses and things like that to where they can board their horses safely. And then we've opened up our arena where people with pets can also bring them, get them out of the sun. And so they don't have to leave anywhere like their pets in the cars or anything like that. So it's just a matter of being able to find the space, reaching out to the people that have space that might accommodate them, and just really just having a network of people that you can rely on to call and brainstorm together.
What happens if the wind shifts, the direction of the fire changes, and suddenly the community of Babbitt is the one in need of help instead of being the helper? What happens then?
Well, I think we're actually fairly safe right now. We were a little bit more in peril when the Brimson fires hit. Luckily, we had a nice big old mine between us, and it would be kind of hard to jump the fire with a mine between us. I think right now these fires are more to the north of us, northwest, northeast. I think we're actually pretty good. But that being said, you never know, things can still happen. We have, the Boundary Waters is what's at risk right now, and that's where the fires all are. So for it to come all the way over to Babbitt, I think would be pretty far.
I know you said that you've never needed a second shelter, that you've never filled up, but do you have the room? Do you have another place that you could open up if the gymnasium becomes full?
Mm-hmm. We do. Our arena, actually, which we've opened up for the pets. We would be able to put people in the arena as well.
Wonderful. Have you been able to talk to any of these evacuees? I mean, these are people in the community right by you. I'm sure you know some people personally.
I have. I actually have clients. We all have friends, family, coworkers, clients, and my clients are actually heading to her parents' house in Illinois. But I did reach out to her, and yeah, she goes, "We're in go status. We're leaving right now," and that's just so scary. They just bought their home not too long ago, and so that's actually more heartbreaking than anything. Naturally, of course, friends and family and coworkers alike, we all have concerns. We're all reaching out to them. They all know they have places to stay. And so that's also a comfort because they can just focus on themselves and getting what they need out and safely, and then go on to, where they want to go.
Yeah. What's it look like up there right now? I mean, are you guys seeing the smoke? Is it windy? Can you just tell me what the conditions are like there?
It looks overcast, which in a sense would be almost hopeful, but it's really just the smoke, I believe, because there's no rain in the forecast. And so it's kind of a false hope. If the wind shifts, then we're going to be very smoky over here. Right now it's going in a different direction. And we are anticipating that, we are going to have some smoke like we had before. So people with any type of asthma or allergies or anything like that need to, make sure their windows are closed so they aren't getting that smoke into their homes, and make sure the AC, if they have it, is on. So they have to be proactive about that kind of stuff. So the smoke is going to be the real issue for us over here in Babbitt.
Andrea, thank you so much for making the time. I know you're so busy right now helping everyone in the middle of these fires. So thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
That was the mayor of Babbitt. Obviously, Lake County Emergency Management has initiated GO for Highway 169 Fernburg corridor from the Garden Lake Bridge to the end of Fernburg at the Lake 1 entry point. So a public shelter has been established at the Babbitt Municipal Building. That is located at 71 South Drive, Babbitt. It will be open and staffed at 8:30 a.m. I didn't get a closing hour from her, but they are sheltering people through the night if they need it. So yeah, there you go. The city of Babbitt acting as a shelter and a place for people to go during these fires, Grace. Thanks for booking that, Mayor Grace, because that was some critical information there. I mean, they've been in this position before. They know what to do. And, she didn't seem worried or scared. She just seemed ready to help.
Yeah, and I think that's the attitude of a lot of people. I was on a couple Facebook groups earlier today. There were so many people in these groups that were offering space on their lawn for campers, for people to set up RVs or tents or whatever they need. Even people offering people to come into their homes, to go into their Airbnbs. It's pretty cool to see. So if you go on Facebook, you can find several different groups that are based in Ely that are offering help for people that might be in need. And I also just wanted to shout out this app called watchduty.org. I'm going to pull it up right now. This is an app that allows you to track the wildfires. It's, like I said, app.watchduty.org. You can take a look here, and they update the fires as things progress and things change. So this is a great resource if you are worried about different evacuations or kind of want to know the status of different fires up north.
And you can see where the fires are. You know, a lot of these fires are in extremely wooded rural areas. And we heard the St. Louis County Sheriff saying earlier on our earlier broadcast that these are areas that they are going to let burn. And it's part of nature's natural process. So they do have to let some of these fires burn. In fact, they said in some cases they might smolder until the snow comes. It's those fires that are very close to cabins and homes that they have to worry about. And the campfire right now is the largest fire. We've talked to officials who say that is their main concern right now, is containing that fire. So with the winds are not helping them right now up there.
Yep, so you can zoom in here. There is the campfire. It says a little over 2,100 acres. So we'll continue to check on this app as our show progresses. But this is a great resource just for people who...
And you can see how close that fire is to the city of Ely right now. You can see Ely there on the map, just south of where that campfire is burning. So lots of people impacted by this fire, and we're going to continue to cover it throughout the afternoon. We're going to switch gears after the break and talk to an orthopedic doctor about injuries associated with soccer. We've got soccer tryouts coming up. We have one of the biggest youth soccer tournaments in the country coming to Minnesota this month. And we're just going to talk to her about the impact of youth soccer on the body and how you can prevent injury. So switch gears a little bit for a few minutes, then we'll be back to fires and heat. Stay right there. back. Thanks for joining us here on Fox 9 All Day. Well, we are currently in an extreme heat warning here in the Twin Cities metro. That is in effect until tonight at 10 p.m. This impacts essentially the entire Twin Cities metro in Minnesota. The highs today are predicted to be about 95 degrees. That's going to continue into tomorrow. We're not going to see a cooling until the start of next week. And even then, the cool down will be in the 80s. So extreme heat warnings and advisories remain in effect across Minnesota today. And we also have to mention the air quality alert, which is also in effect today for parts of Minnesota's Arrowhead because of the wildfire smoke. There's the map right there showing the air quality alerts in Minnesota, and that is accessible through the state's website. So you can zoom in and see what your neighborhood is dealing with right now, and just stay safe. Limit your time outside, find shade if you do have to be outside, and make sure you stay hydrated. All right, switching gears here. Thousands of Minnesota athletes will soon take part in the Target USA Cup this month. I don't know if we're going to move off of this map here, Grace, as we switch gears. There we go. The largest youth soccer tournament in the country. And high school soccer tryouts are right around the corner as well. So that makes right now the ideal time to focus on injury prevention before the season begins. We also have the World Cup happening. So everybody is thinking soccer, talking about soccer. Here joining us now to talk about it is Dr. Christy Heikus. She's the Twin Cities orthopedics doctor, but also the team physician for the Minnesota Aurora FC. Thanks for joining me, Christy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, so we have everybody's thinking soccer right now. Soccer's on the mind of everyone. What are the most common soccer injuries that you're seeing in your office?
Well, we always see a lot of ankle sprains. The surfaces are uneven. People step on other people's feet. And so soccer, ankle sprains is by far the most common injury. We also tend to see a lot of ACL injuries. And then in the younger kids, we see some, aggravation of growth plate injuries.
What's your advice to parents as we go into soccer tryouts to prevent these injuries? How to keep these kids healthy?
The best is a combination of being prepared. So coming into tryouts or into your season with a good, solid base of, practice, making sure that you've been doing the running and the drills, and not only your skills are there, but your fitness levels are prepared. And then always, being hydrated, having adequate nutrition are very important things. And then also sometimes that's something that's easy to forget, especially for our teenage athletes, is making sure that they're rested. And when they have a tryout, and in between, doubles or just the high intensity day-to-day tryouts, making sure that that recovery is super important. So getting the nutrition in quickly, making sure they're elevating their feet, making sure they're getting enough sleep are all super important and beneficial things.
How can parents know if it's time to go see a doctor or if it's an injury that just requires rest and ice?
I think there are two main basic things to look for that mean you should bring your child or your young athlete in to be seen sooner rather than later. One is obvious swelling, and that can happen very quickly. And if you notice obvious swelling, that's a sign there's something more going on, and they should be evaluated on a more, on a short order. The other thing that's super important is if they can't bear weight. So if they're having trouble putting weight on it, walking, that's a sign to bring them in. Something that can sit on is basically everything else you can sit on for a little bit. And I say to parents when they come in, watch the trends. So if the child is getting better and better, you can usually sit on it a little bit longer. If there's no progress in the right direction towards recovery, then that's a time then that usually I would tell you to bring them in and let the experts, see what's going on and try to help.
Do you have any concern about the demands of tournaments, playing multiple games in a short amount of time and what that can do to a developing body?
Yeah, I do. I saw a young athlete last week who was coming and recovering back, coming back from an injury, recovering, and they were asking, and very smartly so, well, how do I navigate this tournament I have this weekend? I have 4 games this weekend. And so we had a nice discussion about managing it for that particular athlete. But even somebody who's not trying to return to sport from an injury, it's a high demand. And so that recovery piece becomes more and more important. And I think giving athletes the power and the support to talk to their parents and coaches about how they're feeling and how they're recovering can be super helpful. It can be helpful for the coaches to use subs more appropriately. It can be helpful, to just manage the load that these athletes are, taking on. And we do that at a professional level all the time. You see athletes sitting out a game, or load management is sort of a trending word. And we don't do it enough or we don't think about it enough on these growing bodies in particular.
Christian Pulisic suffered a microfracture and bone bruise in his right leg during the final U.S. men's soccer match during the World Cup. When you see even professional athletes getting injured, is there something our young athletes can learn from that?
Yeah, I think knowing that even the pros take time off to recover is important. I think one thing that we don't see is that our pros have actually more dedicated time off to recover between seasons than our young athletes. Our young athletes are playing year round. They're also playing multiple sports, which is in general a good thing. But when you're piling on multiple sports in a single day, day after day, it gets to be pretty taxing, especially when there aren't dedicated recovery periods between seasons. Well, so, for example, he's going to have some time off to recover before he gets back to, his next thing. Whereas some of these other younger athletes don't have much time. They're going to try to rush to get back into, the end of their club season and the start of their high school season. And there's not a lot of break in between.
Let's talk about the demand on those athletes, because it seems, in the last decade or so, it's gotten so much more intense. Youth sports, I mean. There's club teams, there's travel teams, and if you want to be good at something, you have to commit essentially your whole young life to it. Is that healthy for the teens, not just physically, but mentally?
It does take a toll. I mean, I see it both, at home as a parent of 2 young athletes who are on those teams, and they're working hard and they're going from one event to the next, and there's generally no off season. And I obviously see it in my office too. It takes a toll both physically and mentally on these kids. And we try really hard to help them manage their injuries while they're here, but we also try to take some time to talk about some of the mental toll and the mental stress it takes to be in a position to try to perform at the highest level all the time. And that's a hard thing to do. And there are dedicated and a growing number of dedicated sports psychologists and coaches with growing expertise in this matter. And some sports even have advocacy groups. I know, for example, ice hockey has a group that is, really promoting mental health. And so it's a good way to bring in that conversation with your athlete.
Yeah, it's such a balance. Dr. Hikes, I so appreciate you joining us from Twin Cities Orthopedics today.
All right, nice talking to you.
All right, that was just Dr. Christy Hikes. She's with Twin Cities Orthopedics. She's also the team physician for the Minnesota Aurora FC. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Well, there are currently at least 16 active wildfires burning in the U.S. Superior National Forest, as well as the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. We've got some video to show you from our helicopters that can show you some of what's happening there. But evacuations today expanded in northeastern Minnesota because of these fast-growing flames. This is all happening near Ely. Officials have ordered residents to leave immediately that are along the Fernberg Road corridor, and the Boundary Waters Canoe Area is now closed to visitors. In just about 20 minutes, we will be talking to a camper who was evacuated with her husband and young children, so you're not going to want to miss that chat. But the U.S. Forest Service said that the campfire spread more than 4 miles in a half day amid the extremely hot and dry conditions we saw yesterday, and that was why they expanded those evacuations. As of yesterday, everybody in Ely was just on standby, but now it's a go in certain parts of the region north of Ely. The campfire is the biggest one that they are watching, and that's the one that is prompting evacuations at this time. So evacuation orders remain in effect for that area, and Governor Tim Walz, of course, has also declared a peacetime emergency and activated the Minnesota National Guard to assist in firefighting efforts. A red flag warning remains in effect across northeastern Minnesota. And even down here, we're starting to see bits and pieces of that smoke. It's probably going to become more apparent in the coming days. But there is an air quality alert in the Arrowhead region because of that smoke. Here's a map of the air quality index. You can always find this on the state website, on the MPCA's website, where they keep you updated on the air quality. But you can see up there in the northeast corner of the state, it is red right now for air quality. That's because that's where those fires are burning. So keep an eye on that, as there is an air quality alert in the Arrowhead region right now. I also want to show you this video because this is from the camper who had to evacuate yesterday. She's going to be chatting with us in just a little bit. But this is video that she took as she was leaving the Boundary Waters yesterday on canoe. There is sound. Okay, then let's go ahead and play the video.
They're scooping the water. Here's what we just left. That's where we were camping, and on that lake behind us. And that's the guys getting the water to take them to the fire.
Wow. That video is from Bailey Shin. She was camping with her husband and young children. She said that she took this video around the Pipestone Falls Portage, looking back across the fire and at their site. She was evacuated yesterday afternoon. They could see and smell smoke. She said it was pretty intense and scary, and the wind was rapidly moving the fire towards their site. They could see the planes and the helicopters that were passing directly overhead. Just incredible video. Grace, why don't you pull it up again as I share Bailey's story? So she said that they were thankful that they made it out, and there were people that were actually going around and telling them to pack up. But that they did encounter some of those people. And then she said their paddle out of there was pretty intense because of that wind. That wind was creating white caps on Newton Lake and Fall Lake. And she said when they arrived at the Fall Lake boat launch, they just felt this huge sense of relief. I can only imagine what they were going through. So in just a short bit, we are going to talk to the owner of a boarding facility, a pet boarding facility that is opening up their doors and taking in pets. We talked to the Babbitt mayor just a short while ago. They've also opened up the arena in Babbitt for any farm animals that might be needing shelter. So we are going to talk to the owners of Pup North Pet Lodge in Eveleth, who are opening their doors. But Grace, we do have a few other things that I want to talk about because there is other stuff going on besides the fire and the heat. Although that is very important, and we'll continue to cover that. So the city of Champlin, I know that we had talked about this on the show. The city of Champlin, I think it was earlier this year, they decided that they were going to fly the old state flag.
Yep.
The city council voted. That created a lot of turmoil. And so it also created a hotly contested city council election, which usually city council elections are not so controversial, but it created a controversial city council election for an open seat. And now the city council has just voted not to fly any flag at all because it's such a big debate.
It is. It is. I feel like we've talked about this flag. I remember when the designs all came out, and it was kind of like a March Madness style, if I remember correctly, kind of with the flag designs. And then when the final flag was decided upon, very few people were happy with the design. But of course, there's controversy with the old flag and the new flag.
Yes.
And everyone has their opinions about it, and it's become an issue in many different cities. I know, like, the city of Elk River has decided to fly
Yes.
the old state flag.
Yeah, so several cities have chosen to fly the old state flag despite issues with some depictions that are on the flag that, have some racist undertones. But many people are not happy with the new flag. In fact, in a poll that came out, only a third of Minnesotans were happy with the new design. And
Wow.
there were many people who said this should have gone to a vote. I mean, I don't know, but it's just crazy. So now Champlin, it's like kids fighting over a toy, and you just take the toy away. No, but
Seriously.
both kids want the toy. Both kids can't have the toy, so we're just going to remove the toy completely.
I don't know. I don't know if that was the correct decision, but I mean, it makes sense.
As a
It
parent
makes
who's
sense.
had
It's
to
like, I
take the
get
toy
it.
away before, sometimes it's just what you got to do.
I get it. And it was causing just so much, I don't want to say unnecessary, but so much just kind of
Negativity?
Negativity,
Yeah.
and causing a fight for,
Yeah.
no really great reason. So, all right, well, head to Champlin. You won't see the Minnesota state
No.
flag in any capacity there.
No, I think they're just going to have the American flag, and that's it. No state flag. All right, Champlin.
Okay, Champlin.
Don't expect to see the flag in Champlin. Suni Lee is coming back,
Yes.
Grace.
Yes,
So
she
this is
is.
huge news for USA Gymnastics. I think everyone assumed she was coming back, but with these high-profile athletes, especially in gymnastics, where their body is just under so much stress, and unfortunately in gymnastics, the older you get, the harder it gets. Even though she's how old? Look up how old she is.
I think she's 23. I think she's my age.
23. So she's young still, but in gymnastics, I think your peak age is probably 17.
Oh, yeah.
So it was unclear whether she was going to come back. She took some time off, and she posted a video today, a very high production video, I should say, of her, in the gym. And it was a very cool video because she included video of her as a kid working out at her gym in St. Paul. So rah, couldn't be happier.
She's pretty. She's so amazing. Like, I love the Summer Olympics just because I'm able to watch her. And I feel like even as non-Minnesotans are invested in her story. Like, she is such an amazing story. The gymnastics women's team, I mean, they're always so great, and I'm excited to see.
But we saw
her
Simone
compete.
Biles take some time off, because she dealt with some mental health issues after the last Olympics. Then she came back. Suni Lee has been very open, saying she wasn't sure she was going to come back. So super happy to see her making her return to USA Gymnastics, and hopefully she'll be making an appearance at LA 28. So that'll be great for her to compete on home soil. All right, we continue to cover the wildfires that are burning up north. Evacuations expanded today in northeastern Minnesota. So some cabins and permanent homes north of Ely have now been evacuated. Any residents along Fernberg Road have been told to leave immediately. Meanwhile, campers were told to get out of the Boundary Waters Canoe Area, as the Boundary Waters Canoe Area is now closed. And what we see in these fires so often is community members stepping up to help. And that's exactly what the owners of Pup North Pet Lodge in Eveleth are doing. They're opening their doors to pets whose owners are being forced to evacuate as these wildfires continue to encroach on homes. So Bobby Lindsay and Ben Murfin join me now. Bobby and Ben, thanks for joining me.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, so you actually did this last wildfire season. Why do you feel so called to help?
We are animal lovers, and I can't even imagine what would happen with my pets if this happened. I wouldn't know where to go, who to turn to. So we can really empathize with them and what they're going through right now.
We just have a lot of amazing customers, and their family is like our family, and
yeah,
we don't want anyone to not have anywhere to go or nowhere to turn if they're displaced from a fire or any emergency like this.
So are you only taking cats and dogs, or are you able to take a variety of other pets? I've seen on social media groups, people looking for places for their horses, for their pigs. What are you able to offer?
Yeah, we can take a few horses or donkeys. We have pastures set up. We also have a trailer if someone needs to haul sheep, goats, horses, donkeys, whatever they need help with. Even guinea pigs, because I know last summer there was someone that didn't want to leave their home because they didn't know where to bring their guinea pig.
What are some challenges that you've heard evacuees face when it comes to having to evacuate, but also caring for their pet?
Well, so we did get an evacuee with her 4 dogs today. She didn't even know she was being evacuated. She wasn't watching the news, didn't hear any alerts. She only found out because a friend called her, and then she was in complete panic mode. She called us, thankfully, and she got her dogs here, but she was totally lost. She didn't know what to do.
The best thing is that people, know where to go or hear that there's somewhere they can go. And so that's probably the biggest challenge, is getting the word out. And
Right.
Contented Critters is doing a great job helping do
Yes.
that also. And we work with them pretty closely throughout the year.
And they are amazing.
So just for people to know that we're here, if we can fit their pets and help them, should they need to relocate temporarily, then, just getting that word out.
I know these are not only individuals that you're helping, but I'm sure these are friends, family, people who are impacted. What are you hearing from these evacuees and what they're experiencing up in that area?
A lot of them, they're just shocked. I guess they didn't really see it coming, and they don't know what to do. They're just totally lost. They're upset. They're crying. They just don't know what to do.
And what's the situation for you guys in Eveleth? It looks like the fire is pretty far away, but are you seeing smoke? Are you smelling it? What's the situation there?
Not yet.
Yeah.
As the wind changes, they're at the mercy of the wind, really. Very minor if we end up having to deal with some smoke, but our biggest worry is just running out of space and not being able to help, more people and their family.
Well, it's amazing when I look on social media, I see, someone posts, I have a pet pig and it needs somewhere to go. And the amount of people responding saying, not only will I take your pig, but I've got a trailer, I've got the space. What do you think it is about this community that builds them to respond like that?
I think we're on the Iron Range. We're a small community, but we're all there for each other, and we're going to do what we can to help each other.
And pets are just such an important part of everybody's lives around here.
Yeah, they're our babies.
It's a part of our life, growing up and continuing from family to family and generation to generation. So that's just one of the most important things in people's lives around here.
What do you want pet owners to know who are in the evacuation zone?
Just don't be afraid to reach out. We're here. There are so many people online that are offering help. There's so many people who have a space for 1 dog, 5 dogs, your horses, your donkeys, your pigs. Just don't be afraid to reach out. Just get out of there. Evacuate when they tell you to evacuate, and there will be help for you.
And don't panic. Take a breath. Ask people, ask friends. and there's more people willing to help than you think.
Absolutely.
So just go with the flow.
What can you offer to those pet owners? I mean, what are they? Are you going to go pick up the pet for them, or do they have to bring them to you? Do they need food? Do they need to bring the pet's kennel? I mean, what do you need to help?
If they can bring them here, great. If not, we can help transport them. We have food here. The dogs that got dropped off earlier, they didn't think to bring their food. We have that covered. Don't worry. Just get them here.
Basically, space, a safe place,
Yep.
and food, and to know that they're taken care of and have that peace of mind while they can concentrate on figuring out what they need to do to get back into their home or figure out a different situation. So to try and take that off of their plate for them, and bottom line, to keep them and their pets and their family safe.
What's your worry when it comes to pet owners who are being evacuated and maybe not wanting to part ways with their pet? Or I don't know, there's so many difficult situations up there when you need to get out quickly. What's your worry?
Just that they won't leave, that they'll stay there because of their pets.
We've talked about that just with each other. If people don't know that there's an option, somewhere to go, they just won't leave, and then they're risking their lives, and it's unnecessary. Just get out.
Wow. Well, you guys did this again. You did this last wildfire season. As I mentioned, you're stepping up again. How can people find you if they are in an evacuation zone and they can't take their pets with them? Where can they find you?
Go ahead.
PupNorthPetLodge.com, and also on Facebook you can find us. It's on Facebook. It's actually Pup North Up Pet Lodge. And just message us on Messenger from there. And our phone number is on both also.
Wonderful. Thank you guys so much. Bobby Lindsay and Ben Murfin of Pup North opening their doors to evacuees for their pets at their place in Eveleth. So thank you guys for joining me.
Yes,
thank you for
so
all your
much.
help too.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right, we will continue our wildfire coverage, our heat coverage, and all the other news that is happening across our region right after this break. Welcome back. Well, due to the raging wildfires that are currently burning up in northern Minnesota, evacuations are now in place in communities north of Ely. The Boundary Waters canoe area has also closed, which forced campers to evacuate yesterday. Bailey Shin was one of those evacuees. Take a look at this video that she took while canoeing out of the danger zone. Absolutely incredible video. Bailey said that they were leaving Pipestone Falls Portage, and that video there is looking back across at the fire from their site. She was with her husband, her young children, and they could see and smell smoke. She said it was intense and scary and that they felt great relief when they got back to safety. Bailey Shin joins me now. Bailey, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hi, thank you.
First of all, we're so happy that you and your family are safe. Can you just talk to me about how you learned about the evacuation order, how you got word of it, and how that actually played out?
Yeah, so we were in Pipestone Falls camping Monday morning, and we were kind of having a lunchtime swim, actually. And then I decided to turn my phone on, take some photos, and I received a text message from my mom, actually, and she told me that the Boundary Waters were going to be closed Tuesday and we would need to come out early. So that was how I found out.
So did you immediately start packing up, or did someone come and get you? How did that happen?
So no, at that time, we didn't really realize the urgency. It was just an evacuation order. We thought, okay, we'll cut our trip short. We actually weren't sure if we would leave Tuesday morning or if we should try to leave Monday. It was already 1:30 about that time. So we were kind of trying to decide, but ultimately my husband and I decided, okay, let's probably go ahead and leave. If they're going to, close it tomorrow, there must be some conditions, some serious conditions. We couldn't see the fire at that time. That's 1:30. So we start packing, not with a huge sense of urgency. Within about an hour of that, things had escalated very quickly. Smoke was billowing, black smoke, dark smoke. The whole campground was orange with the light, coming through the smoke from the fire just encroaching. So we realized it was a little more urgent and started packing more quickly. Still, though, we were trying to get everything, and then boaters who were leaving to the portage were yelling at us as they went. You need to leave, that fire is coming for your campsite, you need to get out. 3 different groups who went by us kind of yelled at us and encouraged us. And so ultimately my husband and I had to abandon our tent and some of our bigger gear that just hadn't made it in yet. So we made sure, we grabbed the essentials and he made sure to get propane and things too. But we had to leave some gear and out, get our family safe.
Wow, such a harrowing story. You were there with your 2 young kids. How did they process this, and how did you explain this to them?
Yes, so actually 3 of our 4 kids were there. We had our 2 5-year-olds and 6-year-old, and they are not strangers to the Boundary Waters. So we, conditioned them over years to portage and paddle and camp. This was our longest trip. We had gone in last Wednesday and we're doing a full week. But they could tell it was scary and could tell it was urgent. We could all smell and feel the smoke and the heat from the fire. But we, tried to maintain a sense of controlled urgency so that it wasn't too stressful for the kids. But they knew it was serious and they were amazing. They were really amazing.
When you started your trip, did you know about the fires? Could you see the smoke?
No, we started the trip, like I said, on Wednesday. I think it was the 8th. So the fires hadn't really, I think some of them just barely were sparking when we went out, but we didn't know. It wasn't anything on our radar yet. There wasn't even a fire ban. So it was too hot for fires. So that wasn't an issue. Once the fire ban came, we never had a fire, but we didn't know that there was a fire ban because we were already out. There really wasn't any emergency orders or anything that came through. We always had a phone at some point in the day where we would check in. So thankful that we had that, and my mom communicated about the closure. But we had our permit through the recreation.gov, and we never really heard anything official until once we got out and we could see everything around us.
The U.S. Forest Service says that they have people going campsite to campsite. I know you mentioned that there were people paddling by who were yelling at you to get out. Do you believe that those were some of those officials, or were those just other campers?
Those, when we caught them, as you do on the portage, so they were just locals who fish and paddle. Some of the motorized boats had gone out for a day fishing, and the other group was a paddling group that was local, but they just knew the severity and were just civilians just trying to make sure we knew to get out. I've read that it's a very small crew of rangers going out in canoes trying to get site to site. So unfortunately, it's a very short-staffed operation.
You said that the paddle out of there was intense. Can you just walk us through what it was like getting out of there with the wind?
Yes, the wind was intense. So leaving camp was already a harrowing experience, and then we're on the lake, and the water is white capping, with waves. So my husband and I are strong and confident paddlers, but we were really just digging in, and the kids were staying exactly in their positions in the boat, and we just powered through. But we had to go at an angled heading so that we were never directly broadsided, by waves, and that could capsize us. So that was in both Newton and then again in Fall Lake. It was very intense wind.
I know you said you've been to the Boundary Waters several times, and wildfires, are part of nature, something that happens up there. Have you ever experienced something like this before in your previous trips?
No, nothing like that. Fire bans, certainly. Last summer there was the smoke and the air quality, and so we've known about those things. We've kept our eye on more distant fires, but imminent danger like that has never been an issue or a thing we've encountered. Hopefully we never will again. We're not deterred from going. We love the Boundary Waters. We'll be back. We absolutely love it. But that was hopefully a once in a lifetime experience.
Wow. I imagine there was quite a bit of relief when you got to shore. Can you just walk me through the emotions that you and your family were going through when you finally, got to land?
You're kind of in a fight or flight. So you're just keeping it in. You've got the kids. We're just moving. We're focusing. We're making progress. Every step of the portage and every kind of paddle across was a step. And then we made it to Fall Lake Landing, and it was a huge wave of relief. My mom was there, and we both just cried, and we were safe. My whole body kind of released the tension, and I was really almost in a daze the rest of the evening yesterday, just kind of reliving and recounting.
Yeah, I have to imagine you were just running on adrenaline getting out there. It's an amazing story, a harrowing story. I think I know the answer to the next question, but will you be back to the Boundary Waters?
We will. As we love it. Our oldest daughter's supposed to go on a trip in a couple of weeks with a Girl Scout, troop kind of up here. So we'll see if that happens. But regardless, we love it. We hope to have it forever and continue exploring it, and our kids and grandkids.
Yeah,
we'll be back.
It truly is a magical place. I enjoy it myself. Bailey Shin, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad that you're safe. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Like we've mentioned, evacuations are in place northeast, in portions of northeast Minnesota, so north of Ely. Bailey was one of many campers who had to be evacuated out of the Boundary Waters. As you heard her say, she turned on her phone and saw a text message from a family member alerting her to the evacuations, and they got out of their campsite just in time, it sounds like. But a pretty scary experience for those who are in the Boundary Waters as that closure has now gone into effect. All right. I want to bring in our meteorologist, Erica Mrazek, because this heat and this dry weather is certainly playing quite a role in these fires.
It is, because for fires you need hot temperatures, dry conditions, and some low dew points, and windy weather, which is the combination that there was up north. So those fires ignited, now there's smoke well up north, and then there is the potential too for that smoke to drift down south over the next day or two. It's going to kind of go east and then southwest, kind of into Wisconsin and then down to the central part of Minnesota, because it's kind of going to go along a very weak stationary boundary. So a shift in the wind is going to bring that here, and then hopefully it'll start to move out of the area by the end of the work week. But it's going to cause some unhealthy air conditions, especially for those that have asthma, heart disease, the very young, the very old. So definitely stay safe. And then also the combination of smoke with the heat is not a good combination to have. So we're going to be in the red category perhaps for parts of the midweek. And then if you've thought, oh, in the red category before, I've been fine, in terms of the smoke, when you combine that with the heat, that just makes it kind of extra hard to handle. So definitely be cautious throughout the midweek. So probably go to the treadmill instead of going on your run outside, especially for midday, afternoon time frame. So it is a pretty active week because of that, and little to no rain in the forecast, at least for this week pretty much through the work week, but maybe pattern shift potentially could lead to a couple showers later, but still far out. So
they could desperately use the relief, but no rain in the forecast that you're seeing.
There's very low chances for just a little bit of a sprinkle up north kind of in this pattern, but overall most areas are going to stay dry, and that would be for parts of tomorrow.
So let's talk about the extreme heat warning. So it remains in effect across Minnesota till tonight at 9 p.m.
Yes, and in some places it extends until Thursday too. Just depends on where you're at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're seeing 90s today. When are we going to see some relief?
So perhaps temperatures could drop by the start of next week. So that's the end of the 7-day forecast, which means things still subject to change. But at the moment, I would say Sunday looks like the best bet for high temperatures to drop to the 80s. Typically it's 84 this time of year, so these temperatures are well above average. It's going to be the fourth day in a row with a high in the 90 today. But they're not record-breaking, though, because those records for this time of year around the metro area, they're in the 100s. So not record-breaking, but definitely very hot, too. And it's the long stretch of heat that's really getting people, and the little to no relief overnight, too. So that's what's going on.
The highs overnight are the highs that we would normally see this time of year during the day.
Yeah, overnight it goes to the 70s, so that's not even dropping too much. So
yeah,
warm waking up, warm going to bed, warm all the time.
The last time we saw a stretch of heat like this, I believe, was 2023. It was during the state fair when we saw a long stretch like this. So not unusual, but certainly we're feeling it.
Yeah, that's very inconvenient timing, the state fair.
It certainly is. You have no idea.
I mean, for those that like the heat, it's fine, but I feel like walking around sweaty might be a little...
It's August in Minnesota. It's always pretty sweaty, but so the heat index values are near 98 degrees. You mentioned taking care of the very old, the very young, the vulnerable. Pets are important too, because the cement can heat up really quickly.
Yes. I'm sure you've gone outside barefoot in the summer and then you walk in the cement and you're like, oh my gosh, like I'm burning my foot. That's kind of how dogs feel all the time. So best to walk them on grass or earlier in the day, late at night, rather than taking your dog on the cement midday. It's not the best for their paws. And if you have booties or something, maybe throw them on. I know that's like a winter thing. I don't have a dog, so I don't know if people do that.
No, I mean, you can. You know, I think what I see most people in my neighborhood doing, which is the smart thing, they're taking them out super early in the morning, you know, right after the sun rises, and then they're taking them out again at night. But that's risky because the cement has been hot all day.
So the morning's probably the best bet.
A lot of dogs were swimming in the lake yesterday. I took my
Good for them.
Took my kids to the beach, and a lot of people were taking their dogs for a dip, which is smart.
Yes, especially the ones that love the water. That's fun for them.
Yeah.
My parents' dog, she hates going outside whenever it's hot. They live over in Pittsburgh, and whenever it's hot outside, she's a 80-pound doodle. She just kind of goes in the front yard and then goes back inside. But typically she'll walk around the neighborhood like half a mile or mile.
And how does she, on her own?
No, with my mom. My mom walks her.
Does she like the snow?
She does like the snow, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll go on we took her on a 4-mile hike one time in the snow.
Wow.
Yeah, she was definitely tired after that.
So she's more of a cold weather person than a warm weather person.
Dog.
Okay, yeah, well, dog, not person.
But she's basically a person because doodles act like people.
Yeah,
so.
totally. But it's a good reminder to check on your neighbors. You know, if you have an older neighbor that you have contact with, check in on them, you know, knock on their door, just make sure they're okay. There are people who do not have air conditioning, and there are cooling centers available, you know, even libraries, malls, YMCAs. These are places that are listed under the county website as places you can go to cool down. Most Salvation Armies in the Twin Cities Metro are also opening their doors as cooling centers, as well as a couple Catholic Charities locations. So if you don't have air conditioning, or you know your air conditioning is on the fritz, you can always find relief during the day at those centers. So there are places that can help, but just check on your neighbor. It's a good reminder because you never know what somebody's situation is.
Yeah, good idea. And then even if you're hot, take a cool shower, cool down, you know.
And we are going to have a doctor on in just a little bit later on in our show, in about a half an hour, to talk about the physical impacts on your body during heat, because your body has a completely different reaction when it's really hot out. And especially, we have a lot of people who work outside, and you know, work doesn't stop just because it's hot.
Yeah.
You know, so there's plenty of people that are working outside, and that you have to be really conscious of taking those breaks in the shade and getting plenty of water. So
yeah.
All right. Well, not really any good news about a cool down or rain.
No, maybe in a couple weeks.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Maybe, hopefully not that far, but.
All right, Erica, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. As evacuations are in place for communities north of Ely due to wildfires raging in that region, the community continues to step up in big ways. Twisted Pine Construction and its owner, Tobias Latham, joins me now. Tobias, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay, so, we're talking about the community stepping up. You're one of those businesses that has said, hey, if you need to evacuate, we've got trailers, we've got storage, we're here to help. What are you offering to people that are being evacuated right now?
Exactly that. Anything and everything. We got a good crew of guys that are willing to help, and trailers and whatnot, and storage space, and after that, there's been a huge push from the community of offering space for storage and people to stay, and campers. It's been amazing seeing the community step up the way it has.
Yeah, truly. If you go on social media into any of the local community groups, it's amazing to see the response. Somebody asks for help and there's 20 people saying, we got you. What prompted you to say, I want to help?
Just I don't know, people in need, if just kind of the natural thing to do. If somebody needs help, you help them, that's just kind of how we do it up here, step up and help people.
Has anybody taken you up on it?
Not yet, no. Hopefully that's a good sign that, everybody's been okay, and, everybody's been safe. Let's, fingers crossed.
This is usually your busy time of year. Summer for construction companies is when you get a lot of your work done. How are you able to pause what you're doing to volunteer?
You just, it just kind of, in a small community like this, you just do what you got to do, and people will understand. If we get the right clients and the good people, and people understand that things need to be done and taken care of, and it feels good to have a community full of people that do that.
You're up in that area, you're not in the evacuation zone, but I'm sure that you know people, family, friends, acquaintances.
Oh, yes.
What are some of the stories that you're hearing from the individuals who are facing evacuation?
Yeah, that it came on real quick and fast, and it's been frantic and hectic and very stressful. I have a couple of guys that live right on the edge, and they've been packed and ready, and it's I haven't had to deal with that, but I can only imagine the stress, and it just to be able to help people out that are going through this. It's just something that everybody should do.
How do you take care of your staff right now when they're showing up for work still, but their home is on the precipice of possibly being taken up by this fire? How are you supporting them during this time?
Being flexible, letting them do as much as they're willing or want to do. If they feel like they need to stay home, which is completely understandable, they do, or stay closer to town rather than go on a job further away, stay more local than to feel safe. They need to be there quick and fast and respond, so we let them do what they got to do.
You live in a region that is not, wildfires are, they happen. They happen a lot up there. Every summer we're covering wildfires in northern Minnesota. It's a heavily wooded area, and so this happens. It's part of nature's process. When you see homes and cabins that have burned down, are people usually rebuilding? Do they have insurance, or are they just leaving town and leaving the lot?
There's rebuilding going on. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these places have been in families for generations, so it's legacies to keep. So
where can people reach you if they need help getting their stuff out, trailer and storage?
Couple different ways, through our website, www.twistedpineconstruction.com, or email at info@twistedpineconstruction.com, or our phone number 218-235-3157, and leave a message if no one answers. But we've been having the phone on us all the time here these last couple of days, taking the phone home with us from the office so we can answer after hours calls and whatnot during this time. So
yeah, it sounds like these fires are moving pretty quick. You know, we just talked to an evacuee who said it really came on quick. Are you ready to move quickly with these trailers to help people?
absolutely. Oh, yes. It's you gotta be. Yep. The way they move and with this wind, it's not as windy today, luckily, but yeah, move like the wind.
Wow. Tobias Latham with Twisted Pine Construction offering his help in these evacuations. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we continue to cover the wildfires that are forcing evacuations north of Ely today and have closed the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness. But right now we are going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. According to the CDC, cyclospora cases are rising in the U.S. The source of the outbreak has yet to be identified. Director of Food Policy with Consumer Reports, Brian Ronholm, joins us now. Brian, thanks for joining us to talk about this.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Courtney.
Okay, first of all, just explain to me what cyclospora is and where it comes from.
Yeah, so cyclospora is a parasite that could be found in contaminated water. And so what ends up happening is sometimes these parasites ends up in our food products for a variety of reasons. And it's typically active in warm weather months. So what we typically see on an annual basis is a spike in these illnesses, these cyclospora illnesses during the warm weather months. So we're smack dab in the middle of essentially cyclospora season. And so we typically see that increase, but this outbreak is a little different because it involves a particular food product which hasn't been identified yet and has led to a spike in cases in a certain number of states.
So they haven't identified where it's coming from, but they have put out a list of food that may be involved that we need to be aware of, be careful about. Can you talk to us about what foods are most at risk here?
Yeah, sure thing. So essentially during cyclospore season, there are certain food products that do pose a higher risk. So it items like bagged salads, bagged salad mixes, bagged lettuce. I think that was the most recent kind of alert from the Michigan Department of Public Health. But there's also other food products like raspberries that have been a source in the past. Same with basil, cilantro, mescaline mixes, a lot of those types of products that, for whatever reason, they end up being a higher risk during cyclospora season. And just consumers have to be a little extra careful when you're handling those types of food products in the warm weather months.
So what's your advice when dealing with those foods? I mean, should we cut them out completely, or is there a process that can wash this off?
Yeah, basically it's basic hygiene practices that we do at home that we're also very intuitive about, right? So it's obsessively washing your hands, washing utensils, making sure that it doesn't mix with other food products. So it's amazing how much you can lower your risk when you're practicing just basic hygiene products, especially washing your hands. So when you're going to handle food, whether it's preparing, consuming, just obsessively watching your hands to make sure they're clean before you do that really plays a critical role.
But what
The
about
important thing,
the
sorry, go ahead.
I apologize. What about the skin of the actual fruit? Like, I usually do like a water vinegar wash on my fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Is that going to kill this, or do I need to step it up into something else?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately cooking these products eliminates the risks, especially when you cook it to 158 degrees. But oftentimes we're not going to be cooking lettuce. We're not going to be putting it in a pan and waiting for it to reach 158 degrees before we consume it. So the best thing you can do to lower your risk is to wash these products. Avoid maybe bag salads for the time being and focus on buying whole heads of lettuce, whole heads of fresh produce. And when you do buy things like fresh fruit, do you wash them off. I think a lot of us do that typically anyway. When you do that, especially with warm water, you can certainly reduce your risk that way as well.
Okay, so we'll reduce the risk to wash the fruits and vegetables.
Yeah, and that's an important thing, Courtney, about this is you can't ever eliminate the risk except if you cook to a certain temperature. And it's just a reminder that we always have to be vigilant about food safety when it comes to handling food products. So it's practicing those hygiene habits and separating raw from fresh produce. Things like that can certainly lower your risk pretty significantly, if not eliminate it.
I read that if you can switch from fresh berries to frozen berries, for example, does frozen food, does that make you any safer?
Yeah, that's certainly another method to lower your risk because during the process of freezing, there is a kill step that they typically have that can eliminate pathogens, bacteria, and parasites like this. So that's certainly another method. I know a lot of folks have moved toward frozen fruits during this time of year because it's cooler too. It's nice to consume in warm weather months. But yeah, that certainly offers another alternative for consumers, especially, fresh fruit can be very, very healthy, and you certainly don't want to eliminate that from your diet.
What are the symptoms and how soon do they show up after you've consumed the food?
Yeah, that's the tricky thing, Courtney, and that's what makes these outbreaks so complex, is because a lot of times these symptoms don't show up for quite a few days, sometimes a week or more. And when you're doing these types of investigations, trying to identify the source, it's really difficult to get consumers to remember what they consumed for the past week. I can barely remember what I had for breakfast this morning, let alone trying to figure out what I had last week for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that just makes these investigations a lot more complex and difficult. And it makes it much more difficult to finally get to the source of these outbreaks.
How does someone know if they have this or if they have, a virus or other food poisoning? Is there a way to test for it?
Yeah, we all feel it when we get sick, right? It's diarrhea, it's vomiting, it's fever. The important thing too is if you experience these symptoms is to go seek medical help right away and let them know that you might have a foodborne illness. That way it gets them in their minds that to do that types of testing, because A lot of times when these symptoms show up, people don't think to test for food. This will be the time to make sure that medical professionals are aware that you think it may be foodborne so they can do those types of tests to find out.
How does the cyclospora end up? Let's say it's originating on lettuce. How does the cyclospora end up on the lettuce, and then how does it spread to enough heads of lettuce that it's now in dozens of states?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ways it can happen, right? It can be in contaminated water. So when you're using it to water the fields, it can end up in a lot of products that way. It can end up with animal feces when they're wandering the fields, certain crop fields. It can end up that way, and then when it's processed, it's another way of spreading parasites and pathogens as well. So there's certainly a lot of pathways for this to happen. And that's why it's just so important for consumers to be diligent about food safety.
You know, I've read that this is more common in tropical environments. Can you remember the last time that we had an outbreak like this in the U.S.?
For cyclospora, I don't recall one this size, particularly one this concentrated. Clearly, the outbreak hotspot for this is in the southeast Michigan, northwest Ohio region, where clearly there is a particular product that was consumed in that area. It's spread to a couple other states. You know, I think currently there's this misconception that this is a nationwide outbreak. I think part of it is because there's so many cases concentrated in one area and there's so much attention focused on it. But really right now, there's no evidence to suggest a direct link to a nationwide outbreak. And therefore, consumers shouldn't be panicked about this, but certainly remain vigilant.
So wash your hands, wash your fruits and vegetables. Can this be fatal?
At this point, we haven't heard of any fatal cases regarding this particular outbreak, fortunately. With vulnerable populations, there's always a higher risk for fatalities with any foodborne illness. So the very young and the very old with compromised immune systems, they're the ones at highest risk for fatalities for foodborne illness outbreaks.
Is the FDA, the USDA, are they doing anything to try and tamper this outbreak? I know that they're investigating, trying to figure out where it's coming from, but are they doing anything to try and get it under control?
Yeah, absolutely. They're doing their best with the resources that they have. Certainly difficult to do that with limited resources, to really conduct the thorough investigation that's required for an outbreak like this. So yeah, given the resources they have, they're doing their best to identify the source of it. I mean, that's the main goal, is to be able to trace back to the finite source for the particular outbreak, so that information can be conveyed to the public and remove those types of products from store shelves.
When you talk about cyclospora, being in the water supply, is there any world in which this could get into public water supplies and then into our drinking water?
There's no evidence to suggest that that's the case. It is that Consumer Reports is aware of, but that's certainly something that we always have to be mindful of, right? Protecting our water supply, especially it plays such an integral part of our food system. So we really that's why really strict water standards are so important, particularly when you're growing produce, because oftentimes we end up in situations like this where there's a higher risk of an outbreak for fresh produce products like this.
Wow, so interesting. Brian Ronholm, the Director of Food Policy with Consumer Reports, thank you for joining me.
Thanks a lot, Courtney.
All right, a great reminder from Brian to wash your hands when handling food before and after. And the only way to be safe completely is to cook your food to a certain degree. So good information there on cyclospora, as that continues to be a big talker around here. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. An extreme heat advisory remains in effect for the greater Twin Cities metro area until 9 p.m. tonight. Dangerous heat blankets our area really for the rest of the week. Dr. Beth Stigora from Hennepin Healthcare joins us now. Beth, you're an expert on heat and health in Hennepin County, so we so appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Courtney. It's great to be here.
So Dr. Stigora, talk to me, let's start with the basics. What happens to the body when it's exposed to extreme heat?
Yeah, I think it's great to understand first what's healthy, how healthy adults adapt to heat. So healthy adults can tolerate body temperatures that increase up to around 87 degrees of heat index. So heat index is our combined air temperature and humidity. That often is shown as a feels like temperature. So healthy adults can cope with temperatures up to that level. And then beyond that point, our abilities to get rid of heat from our bodies really start to significantly decrease. And at that point, we start to see some negative impacts to our health. And those health impacts start at even lower heat indexes or more quickly in certain populations.
I read a blog that you wrote where you actually made suggestions about ways that you can prepare your body for extreme heat. What can people do?
Yeah, so living in Minnesota, we kind of moved from winter to drastically jumping into summer now. And so it's really important that we slowly acclimatize our bodies into heat. So it can take our bodies almost 2 weeks to actually adjust to the heat. Now, we're in a heat wave now, so I wouldn't suggest trying to acclimatize, but it's really important to not expose yourself to heat if your body isn't used to it.
You went a step further and said you can even create a heat action plan. What is that?
Yeah, so our heat action plans are based on some of the factors that might make us more susceptible to heat. So there are lots of different things that can make us more vulnerable to heat-related illnesses or even mortality. So some of the populations that are more impacted are babies, children, seniors, people who are pregnant, people with certain medical conditions like heart disease, diabetes, kidney disease, obesity, and some mental health conditions. And certain medications also make our bodies less able to cope with heat via a variety of different mechanisms. Certain medications that we take, like insulin, become less effective if they're not stored properly during heat waves. And certain medications don't work as well if we're dehydrated or if we're really hot. So if we're some of those populations, it's really important to create a heat action plan with your provider, your pharmacist, to talk about those different comorbidities that you might have or medications that you're taking, and to develop a plan that is specific to your needs.
You know, there are so many people who continue to have to work outside in this. You know, not everybody is lucky enough to work inside in an air-conditioned building. Mm-hmm. What is your best advice for those individuals who are outside all day?
Yeah, I think about those folks all the time. That we have lots of populations that are more vulnerable to heat because they're exposed more often. So we think about communities like our outdoor workers, our construction workers, our landscapers, our military members. Our communities of color are more likely to be exposed outside. Our residents who are underhoused and athletes, they're all going to have this greater exposure to outdoor time. And so there are a couple of strategies that can go with that. It's really important to take breaks if you are outside. So you want to try to work maybe earlier in the morning where it's not as hot outside and the humidity isn't as high. And you want to be taking breaks almost every 15 to 30 minutes, finding a cool space to find respite. And at that time, drinking almost a full glass of water before returning back to work or other activities that you might be involved in.
You know, I read that on really hot days like we're having this week, your heart can become a lot like a radiator. It beats a lot faster and pumps a lot faster to keep the blood moving. Can you talk to me about that physical response that goes on in your body to try and cool it down?
Yeah, it's made to do that. The human body is very resilient to heat compared to other species. Our bodies do have two different mechanisms in how we get rid of heat. So our hearts pump faster to try to get more blood out to our extremities, like our legs, our arms. And that purpose is so that heat can dissipate into the environment. So we have this strong rush of blood out to our extremities. That causes a huge demand on the heart. So if you have some heart conditions like heart disease, or maybe if you're taking a heart medication that changes that, you might have more difficulty in getting blood flow out to your system to dissipate heat. The other mechanism is by sweating. And so there are other medical conditions or medications and things that actually might impact your ability to sweat. We know that as you age, you have more difficulty sweating. We know certain medications block your ability to sweat. So having those conversations with your medical provider about those impacts is really important to figure out maybe some strategies around that. If you have a medication that impacts your ability to sweat, maybe you do need to put some cold water or misting on your skin to help you with sweating.
Okay, I didn't know if that was a good thing to do, to mist your skin.
Yeah, actually, anytime there's moisture on your skin, when that evaporates, it decreases the temperature. It's a little thermal reaction that happens. The challenging part is that when the humidity is high, which it is often in Minnesota, it's harder to evaporate your sweat. So that's why that heat index is a really important marker for health, because if we have really high humidity, we can't get rid of that sweat and we can't evaporate and cool off. So it's really important to check the humidity.
And I know that you work closely with state officials and county officials on heat issues. Are you guys, in weeks like this, are you actively working on action plans?
Yeah, we met at lunchtime today to talk about our Hennepin County Emergency Management Plan, which was a very comprehensive meeting between emergency management, public health, our EMS teams, emergency teams, where everybody is collaborating to make sure that we're providing the right resources to the right spaces. So there's a very robust county emergency management plan with guidance from the state that helps to give us information about some of the upcoming weather trends. So there's going to be communications daily about this heat wave, getting all of those stakeholders in place. And then we have a lot of communication out there right now with our emergency management, emergency medical services, because they're seeing we have some increases in emergency room visits going right now. So it really is important that we're taking precaution to stay safe and not have it escalate into an emergency or something that requires more treatment.
Well, I so appreciate you making the time and some great advice that you had to give there. Dr. Beth Stigora from Hennepin Healthcare, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Courtney.
All right, it is hot out there, and that extreme heat warning is in effect till 9 p.m. tonight. The high today is around 95 degrees, but that humidity is making it feel even worse. Not to mention, we've got an air quality alert in the Arrowhead region. And as our meteorologist told us just a bit ago, that air quality will probably start to downgrade here in the metro too as the smoke from those wildfires moves into our area. So all things to look for as we deal with heat and wildfires this week. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on Fox 9 All Day. I'm Courtney Godfrey. All right, let's do a check of the headlines. We haven't done that in a bit. Of course, we're covering the heat, we're covering the wildfires up north, but we've got other things in the news today that we want to get in there. So authorities have identified the 3 people killed on Saturday in a boat crash on Lake Pepin. This happened on the Minnesota-Wisconsin border just over the weekend. They are 37-year-old Ashley Monson, 52-year-old Manuel De Angel Sola, and 46-year-old Nicholas Locklear. Those last 2 were both Wabasha firefighters. Obviously a hard weekend for Wabasha first responders as they did assist in the response of that crash. Officials say the pontoon that they were on collided with a commercial barge before overturning. The 3 other people were able to climb on top of the overturned boat and get to safety. The crash remains under investigation. And ICE is temporarily suspending vehicle stops used for immigration enforcement nationwide following 2 fatal officer-involved shootings in about a week, one occurring in Maine, the other in Texas. The move comes after months of scrutiny over ICE tactics, including controversial actions here in the Twin Cities and the deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good. Federal officials say the pause will remain in place while the agency reviews its enforcement procedures. Soccer's biggest stage is set for the World Cup semifinals. France and Spain face off today in Dallas with a trip to Sunday's championship on the line. France, Grace, is chasing its 3rd straight World Cup final appearance, and Spain is looking to reach its first final since winning the 2010 title. Do we have a score on that game right now?
Yes, yep. So it's in the 92nd minute. Spain is up 2, so it's 0-2.
So
it looks
Spain
like
is leading.
Spain, it looks like, is going to be in the World Cup final. And
Wow.
I've been watching a little bit of the game. I've had one eye on it. Fans are going crazy, of course. I mean,
bet.
it's just, I've loved watching the World Cup. I'm so sad that it's almost over. But yeah, some very disappointed French fans are
Certainly
in Dallas right now. But
certainly.
yeah, it's 0-2, and yep, so about 4 minutes left in the game. So unless France pulls through with 2 goals in 4 minutes, which seems unlikely, Spain is going to go ahead and take this game to the finals.
England and Argentina play tomorrow in the semifinal game. I am sad that we lost our Norwegian friend. He made his way back to Norway.
Don't even get me started.
Was it yesterday? And they had footage of him getting off the plane with his stuffed raccoon.
Did you do any more research on that? I didn't have. We were jam packed with actually working today. I wasn't able to do research on this. But why did he have a raccoon? Do we know?
Because how do you leave the United States without a stuffed raccoon? The raccoon was holding an empty bottle of some kind of liquor too.
Yeah.
So he's putting that on his mantle at home. Norway's pride and joy. There you go.
Yeah. I will miss. I really wish. I really was rooting for Norway there, but it was a good game. It went into overtime. Were you watching it on? Gosh, what was that? Saturday? No.
No.
All right.
I was not. I have little kids. I don't have a lot of time to do anything outside of work and mothering. But I'm glad that you have free time. Enjoy it while it lasts. In other news, Grace, my life is, just made that sound so depressing, but it's very full and I love it.
Yeah, you went to the beach last night, beach dinner.
I did.
No, you are a socialite. You really are.
I don't know about that. Hey, you want to talk about explosive diarrhea or what?
Heck yeah.
Okay, so Taco Bell is being investigated for their possible connection to the cyclospora outbreak.
Yes.
Officials have said that the popular fast food chain is under scrutiny as federal and state health officials investigate whether Taco Bell locations may be connected to a rapidly growing outbreak. So this all has to do with the lettuce, Grace.
Yes.
That's the concern, is the lettuce that they put on their tacos. I had heard that they have notified customers, at least in the Detroit area, that they will not be serving lettuce, cilantro, onions, pico de gallo, or guacamole because of the concern. But in a statement, to Fox, Taco Bell Corporation said the health and safety of our guests is our top priority. Public health officials have not confirmed a link to Taco Bell or any specific ingredient supplier, restaurant, or retailer. So listen, I would like to stand up for Taco Bell here. I love Taco Bell.
Same.
I love Taco Bell. I ate Taco Bell just last week while the it's true, while the cyclospora outbreak was happening, and I'm fine.
Yeah.
I live to tell the tale.
I mean, you do you. You do you. Did you have any lettuce? I don't want to put you on blast, but did you have any lettuce?
Well, I had guacamole.
Okay, all right.
I usually do no onions.
Okay.
You know, because I don't want to. I sit right next to you. I don't want to breathe my onion breath.
We have a wall blocking us right now, and I have gum over on my side, but don't let that stop you from eating your Taco Bell with onions and whatever on it.
I would really like the slander of Taco Bell to stop. Because why do they get such a bad rap? Whenever there's a story about, bowel movements, Taco Bell gets drug into it. And I just feel it's very unfair. They have delicious tacos, delicious burritos. And when you're in a pinch, they're my go-to.
And they are cheap. And when it's a late night.
You know what though, Grace? I do have a bone to pick about the prices.
All right.
Used to be cheap. The bean burrito is one of my faves. Very simple, very basic.
Right.
Used to be 99 cents.
Yeah.
It's like over $2 now.
No, is it really?
Google it.
I actively am.
Unless the Eden Prairie Taco Bell.
$1.99 to $3, which they range.
The Eden Prairie Taco Bell is charging over $2 for a tortilla with beans in it. So I do take issue with the prices right now. But
oh my gosh, a Crunchwrap Supreme is $5.89.
Girl,
black beans and rice $2.89. This is feeling like highway robbery in my opinion.
I also love a 7-layer Crunchwrap. They have a vegetarian 7-layer Crunchwrap with black beans and lettuce and tomato. Cyclospora, maybe.
Be careful.
And it's like $8.
That's insane.
So
that's insane. I will say, oh gosh, what are they called? Like their cravings boxes. Those are a good deal. You get a bunch of different things in there. But for people like you and I that have dietary restrictions, it's hard because you can't eat everything that comes in the box. But yeah, I mean, like I get a Doritos Locos taco. That's my go-to because they're gluten-free and good. But they're like $4 a taco. I'm like, at this point, I could go get some nicer tacos.
Well, Taco Bell's getting such bad PR from this cyclospora outbreak right now. They might need to bring their prices back down. It'll be the best thing that happened from the cyclospora outbreak
but I'm with
for
you.
Consumers.
And these people that might be complaining, they might also, come on guys, maybe you're just lactose intolerant. Maybe you shouldn't be eating a ton of beans. Maybe we should be thinking about that rather than blaming Taco Bell for an explosive diarrhea causing parasite. I don't know. Maybe it's user error here.
I'm done with Taco Bell. I'm done with Taco Bell taking the heat. In other news today, Governor Tim Walz signed his Happy Hour for Seniors bill. So he signed this bill that will allow for happy hours to take place in nursing homes and assisted living facilities so they can serve alcohol at resident events without a traditional liquor license. Let them drink, Grace. Let them drink.
Hey, I'm with you. We covered a lot of the public hearing, the discussion around this when it was in the legislature. And I believe it was, I forgot which, actually I can't remember, it was so long ago, but everyone made jokes about it. Everyone seemed pretty pro this bill, but yeah, I mean, there are some nursing homes out there I know that do serve alcohol, but I think this has to do with liquor licensing where they have to sell it. I don't know.
Yes.
I need to read up a little
so
bit.
Plenty of senior living facilities that I know of have served alcohol for a long time and have happy hours. They just don't charge the residents for it. And so if you're not selling the alcohol, you don't need a liquor license to do it. So these were nursing homes who wanted the seniors to pay, which whatever. I mean, they pay so much money to live there. You can't give them a glass of wine for free. I mean, whatever. But yes, so they are now allowed to serve alcoholic drinks to residents and their guests at special events like birthdays, anniversaries, without needing a retail liquor license. So Governor Walz said at this sign, he did a special signing in Champlin today at a nursing home. And he said, you know, growing older shouldn't mean giving up the traditions and freedoms that you've enjoyed your whole life. Amen.
Amen.
I'll be drinking Chardonnay until the day I die.
Same.
So
Same.
if the nursing home ain't serving it, I ain't moving in.
You ain't staying there. You ain't staying there.
I'm not moving in. They need the wine to be flowing in the fountains for me to move in. That is the truth.
And on that note.
Shall we take a break? We'll be right back. Welcome back. Well, extreme heat warnings are in effect across the Twin Cities metro throughout the day, and the heat doesn't seem to be turning down until next week. And even when we talk turning down the heat, it's still in the 80s. So we bring in meteorologist Erica Mrazek to talk all about it. Erica, talk to us about these extreme heat warnings. 95 degrees is around where the high is right now.
Yes.
And that's not going anywhere.
It is not. It's going to stay here for the rest of the afternoon, and also for tomorrow's high temperature 90s, same with Thursday maybe even, and into perhaps the end of the week too. And it looks like the next best chance at the moment for getting highs in the 80s is going to be perhaps Sunday, Monday. Definitely hot. It's a long stretch of heat, which is why there are these warnings, advisories out, because there's little to no relief from day to day. So it's just repeated 90-degree highs and some warm dew points. So that with overnight lows in the 70s can take a toll on people, especially if they don't have air conditioning. So that's why there are those alerts out for the midweek. And then also in addition to the heat is some smoke moving in. Some wildfires towards the north going to bring smoke kind of into parts of western Wisconsin, then into the central part of Minnesota into the midweek. So it's going to be hazy at times, poor air quality at times too for some. So if you have asthma, heart disease, anything that puts you at risk for things related to your cardiovascular system, pulmonary system, right? That's the lung system, I think. Don't do any crazy activities outside. So definitely to try to stay safe.
Let's talk about the heat. I mean, we're talking about the heat. Let's talk about these wildfires because we have at least 16 wildfires burning in northern Minnesota right now, causing evacuations, the closure of the boundary waters, and these dry, hot temperatures are not helping, but that wind also is really making it difficult.
Yeah, it's the combo of the wind, the low relative humidity up north, warm temperatures, all those things combined just make the perfect ingredients for fires to spread and things like that and to be ignited easily. So that's what happens.
Yeah, we
just going on.
Just about a half an hour ago, the National Weather Service in Duluth came out saying that these conditions are going to continue through the night tonight up in the borderlands in the BWCA, where the red flag warning is already in place. Low relative humidity, very hot temperatures, and a west to northwest wind will combine with very dry fuels, and they believe that this could lead to a very rapid spread of wildfires, which is why we continue to cover this, because we have many people in zones that are they call it ready, set, go. We have individuals north of Ely right now who are in the go zone and they had to get out. Many more are in these ready, set areas, and based on what the National Weather Service is saying, evacuations can come quickly. There's a map right there from the Watch Duty app that just shows you all of the wildfires that are currently burning right now. Yeah. So, and the campfire right there that Grace is zooming in on, that is the biggest fire right now that they're most concerned with, and that's because it's just north of Ely. So this is yeah, that's just a map that shows you the evacuation zones. I believe, Grace, is the red the evacuation zones? Because I don't have the map pulled up for me right now. Yep,
that's the GO level 3 evacuation order. So yeah, you can see the red zones, the yellow zones, which are the set zones, and the ready, which are the level 1.
So it looks to me, Erica, like these winds are pushing this west. Is that what you're seeing?
So they're going to kind of sink. So in the very far northern part of the state, the winds are more from the north. There's a very weak boundary. And then the winds for the rest of the state are from the southwest. And then the boundary is going to kind of keep sinking south through tonight into tomorrow. So that's what's going to kind of shift the smoke around east and then back southwest. And then also throughout the midweek and even into the end of the week, the smoke kind of, well, perhaps end of the week, but the smoke kind of is going to drift even to parts of the northeast. So like Pennsylvania, areas in Michigan, that's more Midwest. But it's also going to make its way to other states too, perhaps. So.
Wow. And no precipitation in the forecast right now. That is not helping.
Correct. So there's some models trying to bring a little bit of a shower to northern Minnesota for parts of tomorrow, but there's really not much moisture that it's
Welcome back. It is that time of year when Fox 9 takes our show on the road to various communities across our region for our town ball tour. We'll be doing our early broadcasts tomorrow from River Falls for a town ball game there. And I am so excited to welcome Greg Peters onto our show. He's the Hudson Booster Development Director. Greg, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So I want to talk to you about this amazing adaptive program that you have there. Can you just talk to me about what you're doing with adaptive baseball?
Yeah, so one of it was kind of one of those sort of cool stories that I've been involved with the River Falls Baseball Council for quite a while, and we had this opportunity. We had an awesome grant that we got through Major League Baseball and the Major League Baseball Players Association, and we were able to turf the field. It was a $850,000 grant, and we were able to turf the field, and that made it a lot easier for the Challenger League, which is out of Hudson. It's through the Hudson Boosters, and it's a pretty large group, and the turf makes it more accessible for wheelchairs and kids with disabilities, and the turf was allowed to bring the game of baseball to that much wider of an audience, and it's just kind of blown up, and I got to know that group over the years, and it was probably about a 5-6 year span, and then the next thing you know, the last now I'm working full time for the Hudson Boosters, and we're trying to raise $17 million to build a 5-field youth sports complex in Hudson that we're just starting that process right now.
So who are the individuals who partake in these adaptive clinics?
Well, it's kids with disabilities. Some of them are mental disabilities, and some of them are physical disabilities. But it's a whole gamut, and it's kids from really all over. They're eastern Minnesota and western Wisconsin. So Baldwin and Hudson, River Falls, Ellsworth, over to Woodbury and things like that. But yeah, they're all, those kids are and they call it the Challenger League, and the Challenger League plays here. They play on Sunday nights in July and some August, and we roll out the red carpet for them and get the PA, the public address going, and the music, and have a great time. And honestly, like when I first started it, and truth be told, like I guess I thought I was doing them a favor, but honestly, like it's the most enjoyable thing that I do all summer. I absolutely love being around the kids and the parents, and when you see the smiles on their face when they, it's on a tee and they hit it and they're running to first, or they're whether if they're in a wheelchair or not, but the smiles on their face, it's so inspiring. It's outstanding.
I know the feeling. I do a lot of work in the adaptive community, so it's pretty incredible. Talk to me about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, then, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, this is not just about physical activity. This is about a sense of belonging. How do you guys give these kids, a sense of belonging through baseball?
I think the sort of the coolest part about youth sports anyway, I think there's some of the youth sports get a bad rap because everybody kind of thinks that every kid's out to get a scholarship or playing the pros or anything, but 99.9% of the kids in our, not only in our area but in the country, you're learning lifelong lessons and values, and they're in how to be a teammate, be a good teammate, and how to give back to your community and stuff, and just learn how to be a good member of your own community. And and I think that one of the things that the Hudson Boosters does too so well is that it is their, like, all the different sports, baseball, softball, volleyball, so like the travel sports are becoming so expensive for kids and families that can't afford that, and so this ballpark behind me here in River Falls, the park that's going to happen through the Hudson Boosters, in the next 3-4 years, that it's bringing youth sports to a lot of families that can't afford travel ball and things like that. So that's one other thing that that we're proud of, I guess.
Yeah, and the adaptive program is no cost, which is incredible. But, a lot of the equipment that these kids might need to play in different sports costs money. Are you providing various adaptive equipment so that these individuals can take to the field, or do they need to bring their own equipment?
Well, so it's the Hudson Boosters sponsors that equipment for the kids, but and actually one of the guests tomorrow, he's from River Falls, JP Fireeisen. He played for the high school, played college in Wisconsin here at Stevens Point, and he played for the Brewers and the Dodgers and won two World Series rings with the Dodgers. But he's retired now. He's at the ripe old age of like 32, but he started the Fireeisen Foundation, and that the Fireeisen Foundation purchases adaptive equipment for sports for kids in our area. So that was again another luck of the draw story, but it just that's just the way I think somebody upstairs they're looking out, and that's kind of the way it worked.
You talked about the turf being easier for wheelchairs and adaptive equipment, but is the entire ballpark accessible? I'm thinking about parking lot ramps, the bleachers.
It is there. The to get up to the grandstand, if you had to come up, it's not. But there is so many, and I guess I can point the camera on, or you can come out to the game tomorrow night and watch the Hudson River Rats and the River Falls Fighting Fish play. And there's ramps all the way from every parking lot, and there's great seats that are right next to the home plate that you can sit, and if you're in a wheelchair or handicap accessible, yes, we can accommodate those needs very easily.
That's wonderful. I understand that you give the players, or your goal is to give your players the experience of playing in the big league. How do you do that?
Well, when we have the Hudson Booster Challenger League here, we have full PA, and we get the names of the kids before they come up, and we, now batting number, we give them the whole shebang and play some walk-up music and things like that. So actually right behind me, I don't know if you can, that's actually just right over here, but Brickhouse Music in River Falls is putting in a brand new sound system. We had a couple speakers blow out just pretty recently, and so we wanted to make sure that we had it all ready to go for Town Ball Tavern night. So we'll have the speakers loud and proud tomorrow night for Town Ball Tavern night, or excuse me, for the Fox 9 Town Ball night.
It's always a good time when we come in for Town Ball.
I said Town Ball Tavern. There's a Tarnation Tavern, and they're one of the sponsors tomorrow night. I got it mixed up.
That's okay. It's really hot outside, and you're sitting outside for this interview, Greg. The heat is getting to you.
Maybe.
So I do see that you have volunteer buddies who also assist players on the field. Talk to me about that, if they need it, of course.
Yeah, so one of the things that head coach, River Falls high school baseball coach and the Legion head coach, Ryan Bishop, he's really good about teaching his kids and his players how important it is to give back and be a member of your community and stuff. And so when the Hudson Boosters Challenger League is down here, the River Falls high school Legion team is helping those kids out on the field and making sure, because some of the players on the Challenger League, they're hitting the ball pretty good, and so there's some differences of skill level and stuff. So they're there to make sure nobody gets hurt or injured or things like that. So, but they play catch and just have a good time with them too. It's a great scene. We'll have the Challenger League out here. Probably, I think, I don't have the calendar right in front of me, but I think it's probably for the next 4 weeks out of the next 5 weeks, I think. On Sunday nights.
That's great. So the Challengers League, which is adaptive baseball, plays on Sunday nights there in River Falls. Greg, since I've got you on the line, what's the prep work looking to host Fox 9 there in the extreme heat?
Oh, well, one of the things we have, the River Falls Fire Department has one of the fire trucks coming out, and I've heard a rumor that Chief Meteorologist Ian Leonard is going to go up in the boom. I'm not quite. He's the guy is an absolute Adonis, so we don't want to get him hurt at all. But no, we're so excited. We've got they were all out, getting the grass around the park mowed and getting the parking lot all fixed. So yeah, we're excited, and we have quite a few food trucks coming in and some local breweries coming in to showcase that, but it'll be a fun night for sure.
Wow. Well, we love coming and meeting all these town ball teams. So
yeah, heck yeah.
Thanks for having us. You know, I've seen Ian do crazier things. So getting up in the boom on the fire truck is par for the course.
There's been quite a bit of chit chat around town to figure out kind of what kind of loud pants he's gonna wear. He always wears like kind of loud. We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, he has a closet full, so stay tuned. Greg Peters, the development director with the Hudson Booster Club, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And just a reminder, Fox 9, we will be in River Falls for our town ball tour. We'll be broadcasting all of our early evening shows there tomorrow night, so tune in for that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. Due to the raging wildfires that are happening up north, evacuations are in place just north of Ely, and the Weather Service out of Duluth just warned on social media that with the conditions, they expect that those evacuations will continue moving on, so expect more going into tomorrow. The Boundary Waters canoe area has also closed, and campers had to be evacuated. Early in our show, I talked to Bailey Shin, who was one of those evacuees. You got to listen to this conversation. Or not. We need a minute, apparently. So first of all, we're so happy. Bailey Shin was camping in the Boundary Waters canoe area when they got word that they needed to get out. She's going to describe the situation in this interview, but in a social media post, she talks about how they were at the Pipestone Falls Portage camping with her husband and her young kids. They could see the smoke, they could smell the smoke, but she talks about how it rapidly came closer and closer, and they quickly realized they needed to leave. They even left some of their camping equipment at their campground because it became so apparent that they needed to get out. Listen to our conversation from earlier. That you and your family are safe. Can you just talk to me about how you learned about the evacuation order, how you got word of it, and how that actually played out.
Yeah, so we were in Pipestone Falls camping Monday morning, and we were kind of having a lunchtime swim actually, and then I decided to turn my phone on, take some photos, and I received a text message from my mom actually, and she told me that the boundary waters were going to be closed Tuesday and we would need to come out early. So that was how I found out.
So did you immediately start packing up, or did someone come and get you? How did that happen?
So no, at that time we didn't really realize the urgency. It was just an evacuation order. We thought, okay, we'll cut our trip short. We actually weren't sure if we would leave Tuesday morning or if we should try to leave Monday. It was already 1:30 about that time. So we were kind of trying to decide, but ultimately my husband and I decided, okay, let's probably go ahead and leave. If they're going to, close it tomorrow, there must be some serious conditions. We couldn't see the fire at that time. That's 1:30. So we start packing, not with a huge sense of urgency. Within about an hour of that, things had escalated very quickly. Smoke was billowing, black smoke, dark smoke. The whole campground was orange with the light, coming through the smoke from the fire just encroaching. So we realized it was a little more urgent and started packing more quickly. Still, though, we were trying to get everything, and then voters who were leaving to the portage were yelling at us as they went. You need to leave. That fire is coming for your campsite. You need to get out. 3 different groups who went by us kind of yelled at us and encouraged us. And so ultimately, my husband and I had to abandon our tent and some of our bigger gear that just hadn't made it in yet. So we made sure, we grabbed the essentials and he made sure to get propane and things too. But we had to leave some gear and out, get our family safe.
Wow, such a harrowing story. You were there with your 2 young kids. How did they process this, and how did you explain this to them?
Yes, so actually 3 of our 4 kids were there. We had our 2 5-year-olds and 6-year-old, and they are not strangers to the boundary waters. So we, conditioned them over years to portage and paddle and camp. This was our longest trip. We had gone in last Wednesday and we're doing a full week. But they could tell it was scary and could tell it was urgent. We could all smell and feel the smoke and the heat from the fire. But we, tried to maintain a sense of controlled urgency so that it wasn't too stressful for the kids. But they knew it was serious and they were amazing. They were really amazing.
When you started your trip, did you know about the fires? Could you see the smoke?
No, we started the trip, like I said, on Wednesday. I think it was the 8th. So the fires hadn't really, I think some of them just barely were sparking when we went out, but we didn't know. It wasn't anything on our radar yet. There wasn't even a fire ban. So it was too hot for fires. So that wasn't an issue. Once the fire ban came, we never had a fire, but we didn't know that there was a fire ban because we were already out. There really wasn't any emergency orders or anything that came through. We always had a phone at some point in the day where we would check in. So thankful that we had that, and my mom communicated about the closure. But we had our permit through the recreation.gov, and we never really heard anything official until once we got out and we could see everything around us.
The U.S. Forest Service says that they have people going campsite to campsite. I know you mentioned that there were people paddling by who were yelling at you to get out. Do you believe that those were some of those officials, or were those just other campers?
Those, when we caught them, as you do on the portage, so they were just locals who fish and paddle. Some of the motorized boats had gone out for a day fishing, and the other group was a paddling group that was local, but they just knew the severity and were just civilians just trying to make sure we need to get out. I've read that it's a very small crew of rangers going out in canoes trying to get site to site. So unfortunately, it's a very short-staffed operation.
You said that the paddle out of there was intense. Can you just walk us through what it was like getting out of there with the wind?
Yes, the wind was intense. So leaving camp was already a harrowing experience, and then we're on the lake, and the water is white capping, with waves. So my husband and I are strong and confident paddlers, but we were really just digging in, and the kids were staying exactly in their positions in the boat, and we just powered through. But we had to go at an angled heading so that we were never directly broadsided, by waves, and that could capsize us. So that was in both Newton and then again in Fall Lake. It was very intense wind.
I know you said you've been to the Boundary Waters several times, and wildfires, are part of nature, something that happens up there. Have you ever experienced something like this before in your previous trips?
No, nothing like that. Fire bans, certainly. Last summer there was the smoke and the air quality, and so we've known about those things. We've kept our eye on more distant fires, but imminent danger like that has never been an issue or a thing we've encountered. Hopefully we never will again. We're not deterred from going. We love the Boundary Waters. We'll be back. We absolutely love it. But yeah, that was hopefully a once in a lifetime experience.
Wow. I imagine there was quite a bit of relief when you got to shore. Can you just walk me through the emotions that you and your family were going through when you finally, got to land?
Yeah, you're kind of in a fight or flight. So you're just keeping it in. You've got the kids. We're just moving. We're focusing. We're making progress every step of the portage, and every kind of paddle across was a step. And then we made it to Fall Lake Landing, and it was a huge wave of relief. My mom was there, and we both just cried, and we were safe. My whole body kind of released the tension, and I was really almost in the daze the rest of the evening yesterday, just kind of reliving and recounting.
Yeah, I have to imagine you were just running on adrenaline getting out there. It's an amazing story, a harrowing story. I think I know the answer to the next question, but will you be back to the Boundary Waters?
We will. As we love it. Our oldest daughter's supposed to go on a trip in a couple of weeks with a Girl Scout, troop kind of up here. So we'll see if that happens. But regardless, we love it. We hope to have it forever and continue exploring it, and our kids and grandkids.
Yeah,
we'll be back. We'll be back.
It truly is a magical place. I enjoy it myself. Bailey Shin, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so glad that you're safe. Thanks for making the time. All right. Such a harrowing recounting of their escape from the Boundary Waters fires. That was Bailey Shin, who was camping with her family this week when they were evacuated. Let's pull up the map of the fires. There's at least 16 wildfires currently burning in northern Minnesota. The biggest fire that officials have said they are most concerned about is the Camp Fire that is just north of Ely, northeast to be exact. It's 2,200 acres right now, but there's several others that are burning right now as well around it. Most of these fires, they believe, were due to lightning strikes. There were a couple as of yesterday that were under investigation still, but for the most part, they believe that these fires were started by lightning strikes. And the Weather Service did say just about an hour ago that due to the conditions right now, they do expect these fires to continue moving, and they do expect that evacuations will continue to happen. So there are plenty of people in the ready, set zones. The go zone is already out now. Those are individuals who are along the Fernburg Road corridor north of Ely. They have already evacuated, been told to leave. Officials were going door to door, letting those individuals know that they needed to get out. But the U.S. Forest Service continues to monitor this. The Camp Fire, they say, spread more than 4 miles in just half a day yesterday, and that's what prompted these evacuations. So plenty of other people on the ready, set list are being told to have their bags packed. And we will continue to keep you updated on the condition of these fires. We've also had several interviews here today with individuals who are up there. You can find those on our website, fox9.com. We also have to mention the heat really quick before we sign off, because there is an extreme heat warning in effect here in the Twin Cities metro. So it's not only up north that's suffering right now, but down here, that heat is really intense, and it's only going to continue. So stay with us here on Fox 9 throughout the day. You can also always watch us on fox9.com. You can stay up to date on the weather with that free weather app, and we'll continue to bring you the news as it happens. We're going to sign off for now. We hope you'll join us again tomorrow. Bye-bye.